You're not going crazy for seeing the same numbers all the time. It's not paranoia to notice certain people showing up in your life exactly when you need them most. And it's not just bad luck when something goes wrong, only to unknowingly save you from something worse. These are messages from the unseen, signs from the universe trying to speak to you. We've been conditioned to call all of this coincidence. But the truth is that each of these experiences carries intention. And if you ignore them, you risk going in circles while life desperately tries to show you a new path. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in depth psychology, called this synchronicity. Events that may seem unrelated but are deeply connected by symbolic meaning. Once you begin to understand this concept, your reality shifts. You realize you're not alone, that something greater is guiding you with subtle yet constant signs. And the most amazing part? When you learn to recognize these signs, the answers you've been searching for start showing up effortlessly. It's as if the universe says, "Finally, you got it." In this video, you'll discover the 3 most common ways the unseen communicates with you. You'll learn how to clearly interpret the signs, how to connect with your intuition, and how to break free from autopilot to live with true awareness. If you've ever felt that certain coincidences hit you deeper than they should, then it's because you're already ready to see what's next. And after this, nothing will ever feel random again. Imagine thinking about someone you haven't seen in years, and suddenly they text you, or turning on the radio and the song playing perfectly describes what you're feeling. Coincidence? Maybe not. According to Carl Jung, these so-called coincidences are actually synchronicities, visible manifestations of an invisible intelligence that's constantly trying to speak to us. The universe doesn't use words the way we do. It speaks in codes, patterns, symbols, and when you ignore it, it's like leaving someone shouting your name in the middle of silence. These messages from the unseen show up when the mind goes quiet and the soul starts to listen. Think about it. How many times has something worked out too perfectly to be random? Like seeing the same number repeatedly in different places, or hearing the exact same advice from people who don't even know each other. That's not chance. Those are signs from the universe trying to align you with something bigger. And once you start seeing this more clearly, you realize everything happens for a reason, even if it only makes sense later on. The real question is, are you paying close enough attention to hear the whispers of the unseen? Because the universe doesn't shout, it nudges. And every meaningful coincidence could be your wake-up call for spiritual awareness. Carl Jung said that the more you ignore the unconscious, the more it takes over the steering wheel of your life, and you call that fate. But when you start noticing the signs, you realize that nothing, absolutely nothing, happens by accident. And maybe you've already felt it when that same sign kept following you more than once. The first message, the repeating sign that won't leave you alone. You know when a number starts following you, like seeing 1111 on the clock, on a license plate, on your grocery receipt. And no matter how much you try to ignore it, it shows up again. That's not just coincidence. It's one of those messages from the unseen trying to get your attention. That's how the universe works. When you don't hear the whisper, it comes back as an echo. Carl Jung would call this synchronicity, a repeating pattern that carries a deeper symbolic meaning your soul has already sensed, even if your mind hasn't fully grasped it yet. These signs can show up in many forms. Names you keep hearing, symbols that appear out of nowhere, songs that play at the exact right moment, phrases that feel like they were written just for you. What's interesting is, the more you try to run from them or rationalize them away, the more they show up. Persistent, like an intuition that refuses to be silenced. So here's the question. Are you actually listening? Or are you sleeping with your phone to your ear while the universe is trying to reach you by letter? To start understanding these signs, the key is to observe them without forcing meaning. Don't overanalyze. Just take note. Use a dedicated journal or even your phone's notes app to write down anything that repeats more than 3 times in a short span. That could be the beginning of a conversation between you and the unseen. Because when a coincidence happens once, it might be luck. Twice, maybe a pattern. But 3 times, that's a calling. And sometimes, what you really need is to meet someone who shows up out of nowhere and changes everything, without even asking for permission. The second message: accidental encounters with key people. Sometimes the answer you're looking for doesn't come as a sign in the sky. It comes in the form of a person. And the most incredible part is that these people show up at the strangest times, when everything feels like it's falling apart, or right when you're thinking of giving up. They sit next to you on the bus, show up in a grocery store line, or leave a comment on a video that hits you right in the soul. Coincidence? Or maybe just another message from the unseen? Because the universe, my friend, has its own creative ways of sending messages, and people are one of its favorite tools. Carl Jung once said that everyone who crosses our path holds up a mirror. Sometimes they reflect something we need to see in ourselves. Other times, they bring exactly the energy or words we need to unlock a shift in awareness. It's not about waiting for some guru in a white robe to appear. It's realizing that a new coworker, a rideshare driver, or even a child saying something by accident might be a key piece in a much bigger puzzle. In these cases, synchronicity shows up disguised as social coincidence. And here's the wild part. These encounters are rarely comfortable. Sometimes they challenge you, sometimes they move you, but almost always they stir something deep inside. So next time someone shows up unexpectedly in your life and sparks a strong emotional reaction, don't dismiss it. Ask yourself, what is this person revealing to me or about me? The message might not be in their words, but in their energy, in the timing, in what they awakened within you. And if that makes you think, just wait until you see what the universe does when things start going wrong on purpose. The third message: when things go wrong, to align you with what's right. We've all had those days when everything just seems to go wrong. You miss the bus, the client cancels, the meeting gets delayed, and it starts raining out of nowhere. As frustrating as it feels, sometimes it's not a mistake. It's the universe rearranging the pieces of your destiny. We tend to believe the right path is always the straight one, but Carl Jung pointed out that synchronicities don't follow linear logic. More often than not, signs from the universe show up when the plans you made fall apart, and something wrong takes you exactly where you need to be. Ever stop to think that the delay that annoyed you might have kept you from crossing paths with someone who would have caused problems? Or that the job that didn't work out made room for an opportunity that's more aligned with who you truly are? The unseen works like a spiritual GPS. When you drift off course, it recalculates. But unlike a GPS, it doesn't give you a friendly voice. It shakes things up until you start paying attention. The coincidences here are subtle but powerful. What feels like an obstacle may actually be a divine detour. And that's where the key to conscious surrender comes in. Instead of resisting everything that feels out of your control, try asking, what is the universe trying to show me through this? That simple question shifts your energy, breaks the pattern of resistance, and creates space for meaning to emerge, even in the chaos. The message behind the mess might not be clear right away, but it's always there. And once you start interpreting events through that lens, you'll realize that even the setbacks were synchronized, like someone up there knew you needed to slow down just enough to finally listen. The truth is, the universe's signs are everywhere, but only those who know how to look can truly see them. And for that, you don't need to be a psychic, a medium, or a mystic. You just need to be present. Coincidences, synchronicities, unexpected encounters, delays, repetitions, all of it is information. But if you don't build the habit of noticing, reflecting, and connecting the dots, those signs get lost in the noise of daily life. That's why the first step is simple. Start a spiritual journal. It can be physical or digital. What matters is that you use it to write down anything unusual, repetitive, or symbolic that happens during your day. Over time, this journal becomes a map. You'll begin to notice patterns, how certain signs show up right before important decisions, or how specific numbers appear when you need courage. This helps you develop a sensitivity that Carl Jung called symbolic attention, the ability to recognize what your unconscious is trying to tell you through your outer reality. And this practice of observation not only sharpens your intuition, but also deepens your connection with the unseen. It's as if the universe realizes you're finally listening and begins to speak even more clearly. The most powerful part of it all is that the more you observe and interpret, the clearer the communication becomes. And then your life starts flowing at a different rhythm. You stop living on autopilot and start living in alignment. Decisions feel lighter, synchronicities become more frequent, and that sense of being on the right path turns into something steady. It's not about chasing signs like someone chasing luck. It's about being so aligned that the signs come to you. And when that happens, it's only the beginning of a journey where nothing feels random anymore. Now that you know these 3 ways the unseen speaks to you, the real question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you still going to call it luck when it's clearly a calling? Are you really going to keep ignoring the signs from the universe, the chills, the repeating patterns, as if they were just random coincidences? Because if you've made it this far, it's because some part of you already knows. These coincidences are synchronicities, and the unseen has been trying to reach you for much longer than you think. So tell me, what's the strongest sign you've ever received? What coincidence gave you chills so real that you just couldn't write it off as chance? Drop it in the comments, because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to wake up to. And if this video made sense to you, if any part of you felt seen in what we talked about, don't let it stop here. Apply it. Start your spiritual journal, track the patterns, trust your intuition. You don't have to understand everything right now, but you do need to start showing up differently. And if you want to keep diving deeper into this universe, learning how the invisible shows up in the visible, how the unconscious speaks to your soul, and how synchronicities shape your reality, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Because in the next videos, we'll keep decoding the hidden messages behind your routine, your journey, and most importantly, your awakening.